Wifies. Wifies is arguably the most beloved character in all of Unstable SMP. On the surface, he was Parrot's closest ally throughout all of Season 1, who was always willing to sacrifice himself for the people around him, which ended up being extremely ironic later on. What most people missed is that underneath all of that, he was never really protecting anyone except Parrot, and he didn't particularly care about how Parrot felt about the methods he used to do it. When things got dangerous during the Invisible Mafia conflict, Wifies faked his own death using a dark swap trick, so convincing that nobody on the server questioned it, and then disappeared completely. He didn't disappear out of fear though, he disappeared to start building something. An entire operation designed to control every threat that could ever come near Parrot, even if that meant becoming the threat himself. He came back as the director, hiring It's Real Me, Mr. Cube 6, and True Original to hunt Parrot down, framing Parrot as the villain to his own protection team, and building Paragon, a custom prison with rotating guards, obsidian walls, and a pressure plate chamber specifically designed for one final confrontation. His stated reason was that he was testing how Parrot responds to danger, to keep him safe forever. Their story ended on 2 linked pressure plates wired to detonate hundreds of TNT, and Parrot survived by dropping his spyglass onto his plate and walking away. Wifies ran for the spyglass and the TNT killed him. He was defeated by the one item he never managed to track inside Paragon, and the one friendship he spent the entire arc trying to control ended up being the thing that made the outcome inevitable. Latis K is probably the single biggest antagonist in the entire series when you measure by screen time and total damage caused, and his arc is interesting because it starts with something that looks almost reasonable. He founded the Law as a justice organization, genuinely believing the server needed order and structure, and in the early days that intention felt real, but the power started changing him almost immediately, and the change was gradual enough that most people around him didn't see it clearly until it was too late. He sacrificed 1,000 of his own soldiers in a deliberate 2 vs 1,000 fight against Wemmbu and FlameFrags, not because he thought they could win, but because he wanted the capture of Wemmbu as political capital for his election campaign. He massacred a group of defenseless pirates who posed no threat, staged a purge event disguised as a friendly banquet to thin out his rival candidates, and when his own right-hand man, Deputy Ace, finally helped Parrot and Theo escape after being ordered to execute them, Latis K had Ace killed by Sarge Law almost immediately.
Rather die standing than live kneeling.
He was eventually defeated by District 13 and imprisoned in the Northern Council, under mining fatigue, the exact punishment Wemmbu had once suffered under his rule, and even in prison he refused to give Parrot anything useful, just mocked him for being an incompetent king. He was freed during the Civil War through a hostage exchange, transferred to Syndicrat's custody, and even then refused to endorse Separata as king, landing himself back in the cell almost immediately. Keep Latis K in mind as this video goes on, because the idea of order becoming tyranny is a pattern that shows up across almost every character on this list. ClownPierce is what you get when you take the most dangerous fighter on the server and give him a complete monopoly over an essential resource. He claims the entire nether dimension as his personal territory, hunts any player who enters without permission, and has built a vault secured well enough that even a coordinated infiltration mission from Parrot, Theo, and FlameFrags together only partially worked. He's scary in a way that most fighters aren't, preferring elaborate scavenger hunts and fake fair games over straightforward combat, and his reputation is so established that people have formed entire alliances just around the goal of killing him. He was hired by Prince Zem to assassinate Parrot, killed Wembu's villagers just to extract information, trapped multiple protagonists inside Proton, and then as a final move destroyed every ominous trial vault on the server, permanently capping the supply of maces and heavy cores to whatever already existed in player hands. The grudge he still carries against Parrot for raiding his vault came out clearly when Parrot came to buy 40,000 TNT for the Civil War defense, and Clown charged him 3 times the normal price, 60,000 diamonds instead of 20,000, then told him Cindercrest had already bought from him before Parrot even arrived. His one real weak spot is Branzycraft, his close friend who Parrot once used as leverage in a negotiation. ClownPierce also has a special ability to force anyone to subscribe. Okay, but seriously, I'm trying to hit 100k subs by the end of the year, and your support will mean everything. Anyways, our next character is Ashswagg. Ashwag built the largest faction the server has ever seen and ran it entirely on fear, information, and the threat of destruction. Every Mafia member stayed permanently invisible, ranked by armor trim from Copper at the bottom to Diamond Elite Killers at the top. And if Ashwag ever died, every single member's stasis would trigger simultaneously, dropping them all into the void and getting them permanently banned, including the players who got dragged in without really choosing it. He kept himself as the only visible, armorless figure in the whole operation, a walking demonstration that he didn't need armor because the architecture of the Mafia protected him instead. He manipulated Spoke for a long time, pretending to be a helpless ally while destroying every farm Spoke's team was trying to fix, using Spoke's own trust against him. When the Mafia finally fell, Spoke found Ashswagg's stasis chamber, activated it, and then chose not to kill him?
I'm not gonna kill you.
Specifically because he didn't want to become the thing Ashswagg had always claimed he would become. Ashswagg told Spoke he'd make a Mafia of his own one day.
One day, you're gonna look around, and you're gonna see you've made a Mafia of your own.
Flew off with his Elytra and came back in Season 2, operating out of a hidden base called Point Nemo, with Squiddo, running quite high value trades while staying off almost every faction's radar. Jamato P is the most tragic villain on this entire list. And the reason is that his shift from ally to antagonist makes complete sense if you follow every step of it. He started as Spoke's first real friend on the server, the person who showed him the exploit vault, helped him build the chunk suppressor, and worked alongside him developing glitch features for the Wonders. Their friendship broke completely when Spoke decided he wanted to destroy every end portal on the server just to duplicate mobs without interference, and Jamato told him flat out that he just wanted to play God and that he was done being part of it. He disappeared. When he came back, he had founded Null Hunters, a hidden organization built around hunting down so-called bad players, with Spoke specifically framed as the server's single greatest threat. He built Purgatory, a hidden nether prison, and engineered the environment inside it so that every prisoner somehow ended up blaming Spoke for their captivity rather than Jamato himself. He ordered executions, burned Spoke's belongings, destroyed his alt chestplate through ManePear, and stripped them down to nothing so completely that Spoke had no gear, no resources, and no ability to do anything on the server. What makes Jamato's arc so well built is that his final defeat came the same way his original grievance did, through Spoke being smarter than him in one specific moment, pushing him off a platform to expose his identity to all of Purgatory, then macing his top commander and killing him in the next episode. Even after surrendering and handing over the enchanted totem, his last words to Spoke were that he didn't recognize him anymore, and that Spoke lacked empathy. He was right that Spoke had changed, he just never acknowledged that he had changed first. ManePear is the most underrated fighter in the entire series, and it isn't particularly close. He started as a high level god for Prince Zem, betrayed Zem for fun when Wemmbu needed help, trained Wemmbu in mace combat and helped him understand how to name his weapon, then walked away the moment Wemmbu refused to hand Gambit over as payment. In Season 2, he vanished into the deep caves and came back as the first player to fully master the spear, developing a combat style built entirely around speed and movement over defense, choosing to rely on speed instead of totems and shield. FlameFrags tracked him down to learn the spear, and Mane agreed to teach him only on the condition that Flame helped him clear out a group of well-geared players who had been blocking his looting routes. When Flame later got captured by the law, Mane abandoned his lone wolf approach completely, broke into a high security law cell, destroyed Flame's cursed armor piece, and walked out through the law's own vault as payment for everything he'd invested in training him. He's described this relationship with Flame simply as brothers are always a friend, which is about as much sentimentality as Mane has ever shown toward anyone. TheobaldTheBird is Parrot's best friend and has been since Wifies died, and the way he fills that role is completely different from how Wifies did. Where Wifies was calculated and controlled, Theo is loud, short-tempered, and physically protective in the most direct way possible, putting himself between Parrot and threats before Parrot even finishes processing what's happening. He's a TNT minecart specialist, arguably the best card fighter on the server, and his duel against the Ouroboros, a dangerous law commander, is one of the cleanest individual combat moments in the series. He trained FlameFrags in minecart combat at Parrot's request, admitted he thought it would be a waste of time, and then admitted he was wrong when Flame picked the stall up faster than expected. His relationship with Jubilee makes his Civil War storylines especially complicated, since Jubilee was the person who trained Theo for months in Elytra maze combat, and is now the person responsible for wiping out Skymore, the civilization Theo and Parrot built together for new players. Theo is openly furious about it and refuses to let that history change how he sees what Jubilee became. After the Civil War ended with Cinecrest winning, Theo was banished from the server by Separator, along with Parrot.
Having lost my army, the location of Theo and Reyna?
Eggchan is Wembu's best friend, his moral compass, and the single most dangerous player in Wembu's entire story. And let me explain what I mean by that. He started out as a genuine pacifist, arguing that wars only produce more wars and pushing Wemmbu toward peaceful solutions whenever possible. Over time, that position shifted as the things around him got worse, and by later seasons he's operating on the belief that sometimes death is the only answer, which is a significant change for someone whose whole early identity was built on non-violence. He's described as the brains between himself and Wemmbu, even while being less skilled in combat, which is why his kidnapping at the hands of Arachnid's spiderweb faction was so effective as leverage. Arachnid used Atron to coerce Wemmbu into joining the Kingdom of the Caves, dangling his freedom as a reward for each completed mission, including the assassination of Highwater City's leader. Even after Wemmbu rescued him, the invisible player who had been watching the whole situation stole Atron's book of service coordinates and secrets the moment Wembu's back was turned, because the book alone made Atron available to every faction that found out it existed. He was later auctioned off in an open bidding war between Wemmbu, FlameFrags, Arachnid, and Jadenman, ultimately sold to Arachnid's kingdom in a deal that kicked off Wembu's entire forced recruitment arc. He was eventually freed after the Civil War, but the pattern was already established. Every enemy Wemmbu has ever accumulated already knows his weakness, and that's Eggchan. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe and check out the video on screen. I promise you'll love it.